What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are checking out the new Moto G Power 2026. Now, longtime viewers of the channel might remember that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Motorola. Here in the US, Motorola is basically our third and only other real option behind Apple and Samsung when it comes to smartphones. They're a very, very distant third, and depending on the year, they either knock it out of the park with an awesome selection of budget-friendly and mid-tier G-series phone options, or they re-release literally the exact same thing as the previous year, sometimes even removing features entirely for some incomprehensible reason. This year, it looks to be story number 2, at least with this new 2026 Moto G Power, which received all the same parts and pieces from the previous one, while winding up with some truly bizarre omissions and take-backs of features the previous phone had. And I'm once again plagued with the simple question of why Motorola? And there's actually a second question with this phone in particular that I've asked for a number of years now. What's with the name? Other than just being one more option in the lineup, there's no unique power-related feature on this phone anymore, at least not any that differentiates it from any other G series or literally any other phone on Earth for that matter. And in fact, one feature that was new last year that is vaguely power related was something Motorola took back and removed this year. I hate to spoil the video already, there's actually even more to say about this phone if you can believe it, but before we get into all that, let me go ahead and unbox it. I'll show you what comes included, we'll get it set up, and then I'll go over all the things you need to know about this new 2026 Moto G Power. First things first, I know it's not new for this phone, but I still want to commend Motorola for ditching the dorky, eco-friendly cardboard boxes they had a few years ago. They looked cheap and awful, and no matter how inexpensive the phones are, or how environmentally friendly they wanted to appear to be, it's nice to get a nice looking box for something you spent your hard-earned money on. So slicing on in here and sliding off the lid, the first thing you get is the phone itself all wrapped up. Next is your usual package of accessories, which contains just a SIM ejector tool, a couple little instruction booklets, and the same USB-C charging cable that you probably have 50 of at home at this point. Nothing else included or hiding in the box there. Now, as we get the phone unwrapped, there are a couple things to mention right off the bat. The full retail price for this new 2026 G Power, unlocked direct from Motorola, is $299. Right now, you'll also get a 4-pack of Moto tags as a free gift with the purchase of this phone, and there's also an elevated trade-in offer, an extra $100 off, so plenty of potential to either save some money or get something free. And I'd also imagine that this phone will likely be discounted sometime soon, as Motorola tends to do. Additionally, these Moto G devices tend to be offered from various carriers here in the US, often as prepaid devices with special offers for both new and existing customers. Straight Talk, for example, sells this phone for around $100 with a service contract, which feels like a pretty good deal. So from the front, this is basically the same 6.8-inch Motorola smartphone we've seen for the last few years. The screen-to-body ratio isn't terrible, I guess. You don't get a camera notch, but the bulky bottom chin and thicker black borders do cut down on the screen size a little while keeping the overall footprint on this elongated phone quite large. Around back, Motorola kept their eco leather back cover, which I'm actually a huge fan of. I think this is a nicer, more premium, and more practical material than even glass or plastic or aluminum. The sides and frame are still basically plastic, by the way, even though they feel really thick with a metal-like coating. The two color options this year are kind of odd. This is called Pantone Evening Blue. It's actually more of a very dark purple. And then there's Pure Cashmere, which is like a tan or off-white. We've seen similar shades on other Moto devices. My only gripe with this back panel is that it does collect dust and tiny little crumbs and other particles within the texture or wrinkles of that eco leather that are really hard to wipe off. But like I said, great design and build. This is something that Motorola has has really gotten right the last few years. On the left side here, you've got your physical SIM card tray with micro SD card support. I'm very happy to see Motorola still offering this feature. I know it's been removed from like 99% of smartphones at this point, but you get 128 gigabytes of onboard storage, and there aren't any other configuration options for this phone anyway. So do-it-yourself storage is basically a necessity when you don't have any other choice. Motorola still ships these phones with at least a dozen of their own Moto bloatware apps. Okay, not all of this is bloatware, probably, but there are quite a few unnecessary things here. A couple third-party apps, and they still snuck in one fake games folder that advertises crappy third-party puzzles and other games that almost look like you installed them yourself. Even worse is their newsfeed page that has a selection of the slimiest clickbait, fear-mongering, rage-inducing headlines and websites you can probably imagine. I'll talk more about the state of their OS experience in a moment, and I know this is sort of how they subsidize their phones in some capacity, probably, but all of this really does cheapen the user experience unnecessarily. On the right side of the phone, you'll find the volume buttons and power button, which still doubles as your fingerprint sensor. No surprise here, and no hate either. I'm fine with this being the method for unlocking, and you have Face Unlock too, both of which are fast enough. There's nothing really at the top of the phone, and at the bottom, the USB-C port is still flanked by both the primary loudspeaker and a headphone jack, which again is something else you don't really see anymore, even on cheaper or mid-tier smartphones. There's a small secondary speaker with an earpiece up top, and around back, 4 circles that make up basically just a dual lens camera setup, but more on that in a moment. As far as the viewing experience, I already mentioned that size-wise, it's the same 6.8-inch form factor as last year, and it's basically the same spec too. It's still just an IPS LCD panel, 2388 by 1080 resolution with a 120Hz refresh rate and about 1000 nits of peak brightness. I feel like most people know at this point that you can get an AMOLED screen, which would be brighter and look more colorful on plenty of cheaper phones than this one. The front glass on this phone, whether it be because of the LCD panel or because of the glass itself, is also, yet again, just super glare prone, even if you do crank the brightness all the way up. That's been a problem on most Motorola phones the last few years, and that's 2 strikes right there. But the saving grace is this phone's 120Hz refresh rate option, which at least makes it visually smooth looking and fast feeling as you touch, tap, and swipe around the OS. If you can believe it, Motorola has offered basically this exact same screen spec on the G Power every year for 4 straight years. And look, I know they have to separate this lower tier phone from their much higher tier ones, and I'm sure they saved a ton of money that hopefully gets passed down to you, the consumer, with regular sales and subsidized prepaid options. But we're in the year 2026, and I just feel like smartphone screens should default to 1080 resolution AMOLED panels with 120Hz adaptive refresh rates, even if it's the cheapest phone in the lineup, which, by the way, this phone is not. To pair with that view, the dual stereo speakers on this phone will get, well, loud, but the main bottom speaker outshines the secondary earpiece speaker by a factor of like 10, it feels like. It's so much louder that I almost couldn't hear the secondary speaker on this phone. But I'm going to be careful in my criticism here because I begged Motorola for years to add a dual speaker setup on all their phones. They finally did, so I don't want them taking this away too. When it comes to the internal specs and software experience, I'll start with the positives. This phone uses the same MediaTek Dimensity 6300 chip as last year. With 8 GB of RAM, the positive there is that I don't have to spend any more time talking about this. It's a nearly 2-year-old chipset that's fine for the purposes of this phone, I think, but otherwise it offers nothing in the way of measurable speed or performance improvements. Motorola shipped this phone with Android 16, and you'll probably see 2 more major major Android updates and 3 total years of security patches, assuming the same guarantee as last year is carried forward on this phone. It's not a great yield if you compare it to Samsung or Apple, obviously, but this is better now than how Motorola used to handle software updates, where they just didn't really update the phone at all. And to be totally honest, I actually enjoy Motorola's take on Android. I think it's a very user-friendly and streamlined OS that's aimed for folks who want a simpler setup. I also think the phone has a nice flow, it's sometimes snappy. I mean, I definitely taper my expectations, and I also think this phone could be better since it's technically $300, which isn't the cheapest in the world. My biggest complaint, though, by far, is that with, I'd imagine, the obligation to subsidize this phone via software and app partnerships, you wind up coming across questionable things during otherwise normal phone usage. And look, I'm sure you can easily address these things with some replacement apps and theme tweaks and other minor software changes, but it's all still an odd experience out of the box. For example, I mentioned earlier that Motorola stuck a games folder on here. That's just an advertising hub, basically. It's not an actual folder of games you installed or that even they installed. It's just a list of game suggestions and other ads, and I'm not sure which is better or worse. This non-installed games hub or pre-installed games you could uninstall. It's all bad. On previous phones or previous versions of their Android OS, this was worse. I remember seeing 2 or 3 other fake folders that were just app advertising hubs. So this is better, but it's still an ugly and unnecessary add-on to your app list. The newsfeed panel is truly the worst of the internet, and I don't think it's based off your interests. At least I hope not. Maybe not at first, but it's a far cry from Google Discover, both in function and content. And I think you'll experience it as more of an accidental swipe when you reach the last page of your apps. That's probably its intended function, to be honest, as more of an accidental experience, because you'd never choose this over Google Discover, and I can't imagine why you'd purposely view this garbage each day anyway. Worst of all, though, is like the weather app, for example, has all sorts of banner ads that sometimes border on inappropriate, and the app itself is clunky and slow. This is supposed to be the default weather app. You get an app like this on every phone in the world, but I'm seeing underwear ads and other bizarre banner ad visuals when I try to check the temperature for the day, which again just cheapens this phone to a point where I don't think it needs to be. On the one hand, the specs and software on this phone are fine. They're better than in years past, even if you don't get a direct upgrade this year. And I don't think it's a slow or underpowered phone for the price, but Motorola continues to offer a cheap and featureless user experience that has the perk of simplicity, Google focused with some Motorola flair, mixed with occasional in-your-face app or ad that they should probably move past at this point. Again, I would imagine it has something to do with subsidizing the price of these phones, but maybe there's something more here that I am missing. Now, I wouldn't fault you for thinking that the power in Moto G Power pertains to the battery, whether that be in size, longevity, charging capabilities, or whatever else. But the sad fact of this naming scheme is that power doesn't really mean anything at all. What was once a massive 5,000 milliamp hour battery years and years ago, and actually justified this phone's name, is now the default size for most any Android phone you can think of. Motorola seems to have increased this phone's battery size this year to 5,200 milliamp hours, so I guess that's an improvement by 4%. But last year, they introduced 15-watt wireless charging as a new feature for this phone. And this year, they just snatched it right back. They took it away. It's not on this phone. You still get 30-watt fast charging over USB-C. Motorola calls this Turbo Power 30 charging, and you have to provide the proper accessories yourself. So tack on another 20 or 30 bucks for that. But there's literally nothing else about this phone, inside or out, that justifies its power descriptor. Though I totally understand the predicament Motorola is in now. This familiar name has been around for like 6 or 7 years. They have a regular Moto G, the G Play, the G Stylus, and there are just no other words in the English dictionary they could possibly use. Well, here's an idea. Stick a bigger battery inside this phone, or a newer battery, or offer a super fast USB-C wall plug with it that's only available when you buy this. They have to do something to justify the power name, or maybe just drop it completely. I should also mention that here in the US, our Motorola phones, which are the Moto G series, are all slightly different than the Europe and international G series phones that have all those confusing number names and the additional descriptors like Neo and Fusion and Pro and Ultra. We don't have any of those here, but a whole bunch of new Motos just got announced overseas, so good luck trying to keep them straight. Here in the US though, Motorola's lineup is actually pretty straightforward. All the names are different and they've been used and reused for like a decade almost. The Moto G Play is the cheapest, lowest tier device. There's a regular Moto G that's slightly better. There's this Moto G Power, and eventually later this year there will likely be a Moto G Stylus, which is essentially their top-end G series phone before you venture into their Edge and Razr smartphones. Finally, when it comes to the cameras around back, I feel compelled to reveal some sneakery that Motorola has perpetuated for another year now. What looks to be like at least a 3-lens camera setup is actually basically dual lens. There's a 50 megapixel main shooter and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. These are essentially the same lenses Motorola has used and reused for a few years now, if only changing a sensor or something software related. Last year, Motorola did add this mystery third circle that looks like a lens. It's an auxiliary lens of sorts that really doesn't serve a purpose from the perspective of you, the user. There's nothing in the camera app that mentions it. It's actually not even on the spec sheet or Motorola's website. And I think visually, the idea here is to simply make the camera module or hardware look more complex, or make it look like it has more features or capabilities or aligns with those flagship phones. But yeah, no, it's been basically the same 2-lens setup for 3 or 4 years. The selfie camera, interestingly enough, did get a bump up. It's now a 32 megapixel lens. It was a 16 megapixel shooter for years and years. And inside the camera app, I think Motorola actually does a decent job presenting you with shooting modes and different options that enhance the otherwise relatively limited hardware, like having macro shooting abilities while also retaining the ultra wide and not advertising macro as some crazy camera feature, and dual video capture, which is a random add-on that was a flagship feature actually for like a moment. There's quite a bit scattered throughout the camera app, even though Motorola I don't feel has ever been one to outright highlight their cameras as a standout feature. And I'll also just say that like with many Moto phones and other mid-tier devices, this phone has a way worse viewfinder or preview image than the final photo. So while you may not like how you look before you take the picture, you'll probably like the picture itself. The couple quick sample shots I snapped here really do look good, and I'm glad the bare minimum camera quality on even a mid-tier phone like this one is pretty high nowadays. I mean, would you get a better software experience and a better camera setup on a 3-year-old used Google Pixel phone? Yeah, probably, but this isn't a terrible setup, all things considered. Now look, I don't know what Motorola's strategy is here in basically re-releasing the same phone from the previous year. I also truly don't understand why they often take back a feature or function. Perhaps Motorola found out that no one uses wireless charging. I don't know. And I also am really confused as to why Motorola continues on with this power branding for a phone that's, I mean, powerful enough, I guess, but less powerful than probably 5 other random phones you could think of under $300. I feel like I'm always so critical of Motorola, and I don't necessarily mean to be. Maybe they're comfortable where they're at, but I think they have the opportunity to really take some market share with a decent lineup of mid-tier phones. This one doesn't seem like it takes the cake, but what do you guys think? Is the 2026 Moto G Power something you're considering right now? Are you a closet Motorola fan? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter, subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.